What's up, Reefers? Long time no see. Finally doing a video. It's been about 2.5 months or so since I've done one. I had to take a little bit of a hiatus. I wanted to get my new tank up and running. I had a couple other things, the holidays, whatnot. But I am going to give you the official review of the Core 20, which a lot of people have been asking me for, and I have not given. So I'm going to give you that today, give you a little update on the tank, which is coming on nicely, and say goodbye to the 93. Here we go. Finally up and running. It took me a long time with the plumbing. The plumbing was actually absolutely awful. It constantly leaked out of the bulkheads. There was just massive issues everywhere, and it just didn't want to go my way. So I had a couple of friends come over. I had my buddy Chuck from one of my Reef clubs, and I had my buddy Mike, who I've known for a long time. Both came over, have a lot better plumbing skills than I do, and came over and gave me a hand with that. So with that said, this is up and running now. I went through a full nitrogen cycle. I had probably about 6 weeks or 7 weeks of this thing running before I actually went and put any fish in it. But these are all the fish from my 93. As you can probably tell, a lot happier in a little over 6 foot tank than they were with a 30 cube, 30 by 30. But they're all acclimating nicely. They're absolutely out and about more. They're hiding a lot less. You don't see them actually, with the exception of the tang, because the tang just likes to do that from time to time. But they're, for the most part, they're out and about, having fun. And that's what I love to see. I want to come down here and actually visually see all these fish, and not just say, hey, I have some fish in my tank. I'd like to actually see them, out and about and having a good time. So that's just a little bit of an update. I have no corals in my tank yet. You guys can obviously see that. I have no corals in there. But I am putting corals in there soon. I do have some coral left over from the 93 that I'm going to throw in there. I do have a couple friends that are going to give me a couple starter things here and there. But other than that, I should have this up and running with some coral by the end of the month, hopefully. Look for updates on that. And that was just my little bit of an update on the 210. I'm going to give you, right now, I'm going to kind of show you around what I did with my fish room, which I really like. I think it's awesome. I hope you guys like it too. And I'm going to obviously go through the Core 20 and what I like about it, what I don't like about it. I'm going to give you an honest score on this thing, and I think it's probably going to shock a couple of you, as I was pretty excited about having the pump, but there's no way I could give it a perfect score. So without further ado, here is the review. Thanks for watching. Okay, so before I go into the Core 20, I'm just going to give you a little overview of what I've done with the actual quote-unquote fish room, which is really tiny. Basically, I converted everything underneath my stairs into a fish room. The good thing about this is I have more than enough space that's confined, and my kids aren't getting into it, which is a definite positive. It's not as, and it's hard to see back there, but it's not as big as I'd like it, but it does a trick. And like I said, I keep everything in here. Everything is good. Don't have any major real issues. Okay, so now I'm going to give you what all of you, I'm sure, are here for. It's a review of the Core 20. Now I was asked to beta test this Core 20 in September, I believe. And to be honest with you, there's only a few little things that I don't like. And with that said, there's a lot that I do like. So in order to give you a fair and honest review, I have to kind of tell you what I like about it, but I'm also going to be honest and tell you exactly what I don't like. I'm going into this letting everyone know that I am an avid Neptune fan. As you can see here, you can see that I have nearly everything you can possibly ask for when it comes to Neptune. I have more stuff than I'm even using right now in Neptune. And as a matter of fact, I have an extra Apex right there. But I think that's some of the reason that I like the pump so much. I think that if it was a standalone, which they do market it as a standalone product as well, I think that you're not going to get the functionality out of it that I get out of mine. You're not going to see some of the really cool wattage, and you're not going to see some of the really cool flow gauges, and you're not going to know how. You're not going to visually see it, which makes it a little easier for reefers to fine tune, if you will. Panel here, and sorry for all the shadows, but I'll show you the control panel. The control panel is boring. I mean, it's boring. There's nothing on it. There's nothing that tells you, hey, this is what you use to turn it off, or this is what you use to turn it up, or whatever. A simple label would have gone a long way. And I know it's probably nitpicking or whatever, but you have somebody that purchases a pump for, I don't even know what they're going to MSRP for, but you would expect at least a pamphlet or something to say, hey, this is how you turn this pump up. That you don't have. Now, my pump is easily altered with the Apex, but if you're running this standalone, you're going to look here and you're going to take this out and you're going to say, well, okay, how do I do this? Or why is my light turning pink? Or why is my light turning blue? None of that is in the box. Now, I beta tested it, so it could change when it comes to the beta, when they fully release it. But given all the products I have from Neptune, and given that most of them are just a little card that says, hey, here's how you get started, I don't believe they're going to do that. Yes, maybe nitpicking a little bit, but just my opinion, you could have at least labeled the buttons. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Well, you heard what I don't like about it. And those are two extremely minute things. It is an awfully powerful pump. I mean, I have dual pumps going on right now, and I'll actually show you. I have the Core 20 running on my right side and the M1 running on my left side. I'm in the IT field, and redundancy is key. I love redundancy. That's one of the biggest things that why I was so excited to get this Core 20, because I knew I had the M1 in my pocket, and I could go and I could put redundant returns on there, and it was going to be not fail-proof, but the single point of failure was not there anymore, which I really like. With that said, excuse me. With that said, this pump is more than powerful enough to pump this tank. I mean, you can pump this tank with that pump, and I have a manifold down here. I have a manifold with 4 outlets. It would have no problem doing that. It is an extremely powerful pump. If you look here at my Apex Fusion, you'll see what it's currently running at now. And I've never pumped this thing up. I mean, just going back to controller here, you can see where it's at. I'm at 50%. I've never turned this up. I never need to. As a matter of fact, if I turn it up anymore, I feel like I'm getting splashing coming from underneath where my hoses go in from my overflow. So there's no reason to pump butt out anymore. There's no reason to have 2 pumps with this pump. As a matter of fact, if I didn't already plumb everything, I may just go back to having 1 pump. But I do like the redundancy, so that's that. I like the redundancy, so I'm just going to keep both pumps. Okay, a couple little minor things that I do like about the product. I've mentioned this before, but the integration with Fusion is phenomenal. They really did a good job with how well you can fine-tune the pump. Now, if you have an Apex and you are thinking about getting a new pump, or you're upgrading your tank and you want to get something that's actually going to be powerful, this thing by far is unbelievable when it comes to power. It is, without a doubt, it blows the M1 out of the water. Now, the M1, I know from past reefers speaking to me and everything else, the M1 is really not what you want to be using for this pump, for this tank, if you're running just one pump with the dual overflows. I know that, but when you look at the stat sheets, they're comparable. Both the pumps there say they run about 2,000 gallons per hour, and to be perfectly honest with you, I will believe that 100% out of the Core 20. I do not believe that out of the M1. The M1 running by itself in this tank, and just as a reference, I wish I would have had video of it, but I don't. I'm sorry. Just as a reference, I placed right here, smack dab in the middle, when I was setting this tank up, I put in a cup of Fritz salt, right in the middle, right smack dab in the middle. I wanted to see how each pump was blowing. Now you can see my returns. They're set towards the middle. Both of them are, and the plumbing is the same. There's no difference there. I had all the manifolds off. So as a visual reference, I did the Core 20 and I did the M1, and there was no comparison. There was absolutely no comparison. The actual this is let me preface this by saying I had both my MP40s off at this point. I just was using the pumps just to see how each one performed. Now the M1 took considerable amount more time. It was actually almost 10 minutes more to fully dissolve all that salt. Now the Core 20 total time it took from the time I placed that in the middle of my tank with one pump blowing to the left side and no power heads on, it took exactly 8 minutes to have absolutely no cloudiness, all the salt was dissipated, everything. In a tank this size with one pump running that end, I found that to be pretty good. And like I said, the M1 just didn't perform like that. It didn't do it. So with that said, in conclusion, in my opinion, and just my opinion, I got to give this thing probably a solid 8, a very solid 8. If it weren't for the standalone functionality that's completely different from the Apex functionality, it might have got a 9. I also don't really like the fact that it's bigger than the M1, which I know a lot of reefers run standard sumps. There are some that run the custom, tubs or whatnot, and it really doesn't matter. But for someone who's actually looking for production versus size, it is a bigger pump. With that said, I do give it a solid 8. I mean, if you're gonna set up anything, if you're gonna set up a 210. You could run that pump all by itself, no problem. I do recommend, if you are going to run the pump, I recommend getting an Apex. I also recommend reading up on the pump before you get it, because you're going to be quite shocked, especially if you're running standalone, and all of a sudden you see your controller running pink for whatever reason, and then you come to realize that that's why, because it's in standalone mode. I'd be willing to answer any questions. You want any follow-up videos, be more than willing to go ahead and do anything. I'm going to, I know I had a little bit of my Fusion here, but I can give you stats too if you guys would like to see logs and everything from going back. That's no problem. But I 100% recommend this pump. I recommend it if you're starting a tank. I recommend it as a replacement. But with that said, I more than recommend it if you have an Apex. You have an Apex, get the pump. You won't regret it. It's awesome. With that said, thanks for watching, guys. I know I wanted to do this video a long time ago, but I could not give it an honest review. Whenever you get a new piece of equipment, I don't care what it is, you're always going to think it's super awesome coming out of the box. I mean, I had lights that I thought were the best thing ever, and they turned out to be complete crap after 2 months worth of working. I wanted to give it 2 full months of running. That's what I did. So after 2 months full of running, I wish I had 2 Core 20s and not 1 Core 20 and an M1. But again, like I said before, you don't need more than one for a 6-foot tank. You just don't. Anyways, again, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to be posting videos a lot more often now, now that I have a lot more things off the plate. So if you want to see anything, please rate or comment, like, subscribe, whatever. If you want to see more to this, like I said before, I'm more than happy to put something together. Until then, have fun reefing.